Hello, welcome to Creathority, where we delve into the enchanting world of cinema. Once upon a time, there lived a good-looking young man named Fay. He stepped out of a car with his luggage and approached a black gate. He knocked as Rashidi, the gatekeeper, came to check who was at the gate. As he opened the gate, Fay greeted him, but he didn't reply. Instead, he asked who Fay was and what he was looking for. Fay explained that he is Lady Flora's chauffeur, but Rashidi laughed, calling him just a common driver and mocking his use of English. Fay then asked him to please tell Lady Flora that he is around. Rashidi rudely looked at him and went ahead to inform Lady Flora. Inside, Lady Flora and her daughter Ella were sitting in the parlor. Ella pleaded with her mum to assist with her assignments, but Lady Flora shouted at her, saying she was busy with work. Later, Rashidi walked in to inform her that Fay, her new driver, had arrived. Lady Flora called Tamara, her housekeeper, to go bring Fay and take him to his room. Rashidi was surprised and bitter as he shouted, prompting Lady Flora to chase him out of her sight, calling him stupid. Ella, not pleased, told her mum not to insult people, but Lady Flora scolded her and asked her to go to her room. Ella pleaded, but to no avail. Tamara led Fay to his room and helped him carry his luggage. As they entered the room, Fay asked her if she was the maid. Tamara replied, yes, and Fay looked at her dressing, saying, obviously, leaving Tamara upset as he walked out of the room. Tamara cursed at him and mimicked his words. Minutes later, Tamara angrily came out after tidying Fay's room as Rashidi walked up to her and asked why she was angry. Tamara explained that the new driver downgraded and belittled her because she was a house help. Rashidi explained that he also did the same thing to him, saying Fay is not bigger than them, but dressed as if he were going to the office. Tamara replied, saying Fay should better mind himself in this house, and they both laughed. Rashidi was happy that Tamara was smiling at last and praised her beauty. But Tamara got angry and said she did not want to hear all his lies as she walked inside. The following morning, Ella, already dressed for school, was sitting on her bed as Tamara walked in with her lunchbox and informed her that her mum was waiting downstairs. Ella replied, saying she did not want to go to school. Tamara asked what the problem was, and Ella explained that she did not do her quantitative reasoning assignment, and her teacher would scold her. Tamara, surprised, asked why she didn't do it. Ella explained that she wasn't getting it and pleaded with Tamara to teach her. Tamara told her she didn't want Lady Flora to find out she helped her with her assignments, but Ella still pleaded, and Tamara sympathetically helped her. Fay stood behind the car outside, waiting for Lady Flora. Tamara came down and took Ella's lunchbox inside the car along with Lady Flora. Fay greeted Lady Flora, and she was surprised to see him dressed so decently. She asked if he wasn't a bit overdressed for a driver, but Fay replied, saying he loves looking good at all times. Lady Flora complimented him. Rashid greeted her as he opened the gate for her. Rashid and Tamara mocked and laughed at him as he drove off. And Rashid went to close the gate. The next day, Fay sat on his bed inside his room as Tamara knocked. He asked her to come in, and Tamara entered, dropping his food rudely on the table without greeting him. Knowing that she did not greet, Fay replied, "Good morning to you too." He opened the food and was surprised to see a small portion. He told her that the food was too small for a grown man like him. Tamara angrily carried the food away, and Fay got angry, asking why everybody was so rude and mannerless in the house. But Tamara rudely replied that he was just an ordinary driver. Fay shut her up, saying he was not like them. He told her that she was a chef and not a maid, and a chef was supposed to dress properly, not like the way she dressed. Tamara felt sad as she walked out of the room. Tamara was in the kitchen cleaning as she thought about what Fay said to her. Ella came in to inform her that she got 3 out of 7 on the quantitative reasoning assignment. Tamara felt bad that she could not help her get everything, but Ella was still happy, saying at least she did not fail everything. That night, Lady Flora lay sleepless on her bed as she carried and admired the wedding picture of her and her husband. The next day, Lady Flora was seated in the parlor with Fay and Tamara standing in front of her. She instructed Fay to drive Tamara to the market to get some foodstuffs and cosmetics, but Tamara refused, saying she would take a cab instead. But Lady Flora insisted. Fay and Tamara stood behind the car arguing as Fay asked Tamara to sit in the front seat, but Tamara refused, saying she didn't want people to think they were a couple. Fay rebuked her, saying people would even think a kind and respectful man was trying to give a homeless woman a lift in this car. And so the argument continued. Immediately, Rashid walked up to them and asked Tamara where she was going with the overzealous boy. Tamara replied angrily that if she had her way, she would walk to the market herself, then allowing this stupid driver to take her there. But Fay shut her up, telling her that he was not a driver, but a chauffeur. Rashid mimicked him as he asked him to open the gate for them. But Rashid shouted at him and asked him not to order him around, and he hit his car. Fay then asked him not to hit the car again, else he would report him to Lady Flora. And he entered the car as Rashid opened the gate. Lady Flora was sitting in the parlor when her daughter Ella came to her and asked her to please style her hair for her. Lady Flora refused, telling her that she was busy and that the hair she was carrying was still neat enough to use for another week. But Ella pleaded with her mum, and her mum chased her inside to go read her books instead. Ella cried and went upstairs. Tamara and Fay were at the market, and Tamara bought all the things Miss Flora sent her. As she walked to the car where Fay was parked, she saw Fay lost in his phone, and she quickly ran to take a tricycle instead of going with him. Fay stopped pressing his phone, realizing it was getting late and he hadn't seen Tamara. He came out from his car, wondering what was taking her so long, and went in search of her but didn't find her. Fay entered the car and drove home. Tamara arrived home and explained to Lady Flora in the living room, lying that after buying all the things she needed, she couldn't find Fay, insisting he might have driven the car out for a cruise. Lady Flora found it difficult to believe her, took her phone and called Fay, shouting at him that he should be home in 10 minutes, else she would tag his face everywhere as a wanted criminal. Later, Fay arrived as Lady Flora summoned them to the living room. She warned Fay not to try it again. Fay tried to defend himself, explaining that it was Tamara who left him at the market, but Tamara denied and asked Fay to tell the truth that he went out with the car. Lady Flora shut them up and warned Fay again as she left. Tamara and Rashid were at the backyard laughing as Tamara explained what she did to Fay. Fay came out, and they mocked him, calling him names, leaving Fay helpless. Ella also came out with her small chair and table. Tamara saw her and whispered to Rashid that Lady Flora wasn't paying attention to Ella. Rashid concluded that Lady Flora's divorce with her husband is really affecting Ella, and that the husband has been begging her to see Ella, but she refuses. Tamara then went to meet Ella and asked what she was doing. Ella told her she was drawing a flower. Tamara replied, "A flower that looks like a head," and Ella looked at her, asking why she is always so nice and why she is not always angry like her mum. Tamara replied that maybe it's because she has fewer things to worry about, unlike her mother, who has so many things to think about. Ella replied that her mum doesn't care about her, but Tamara convinced Ella that her mum loves her so much and cares about her. Ella asked Tamara why she didn't go to school. Tamara explained that her father wasn't rich enough to send them to school, so the girls had to drop out, but she still had plans of going back to school as she helped her to continue her drawing. Tamara was cleaning Lady Flora's room when she walked in and asked her to inform Fay to get prepared as she was going out. Tamara left for Fay's room. She barged into Fay's room without knocking, as Fay was just coming out from his bathroom and was half naked. Tamara closed her eyes, and Fay shouted at her for not knocking. They both argued, and Fay told her that she did not have manners. He insulted her way of dressing, saying no man would look at her except for Rashid and his kind. Tamara passed her message and left in anger. Rashid was on a call as Tamara passed with an angry face. Rashid called out to her, but she ignored him, leaving him wondering what transpired as he left. Tamara was in her room crying and thinking about the things Fay said to her. She got up with tears and loosened her rough hair. When Tamara returned from the market, she looked good. Rashid spotted her and ran to her. He said she had made a new hairstyle. Her dressing had changed, and even the way she walked had changed. Tamara replied, asking if just because she was a housekeeper, she shouldn't dress nicely. Rashid felt jealous as he said he did not want any man to take her away. Tamara shut him up, saying she did not feel the same way for him and he should stop calling her his love. She said they were just friends and it would remain that way. Rashid felt unhappy as he begged her to accept him, telling her he had good plans for her to work as a house help for a rich man. Tamara cursed at him as she left, saying she could not be a house help forever. Fay was in his room tidying his bed when Tamara knocked, and he asked her to come in. Tamara dropped his food on his table, and Fay complimented her new look. Tamara hissed at him as she turned to leave, but Fay stopped her, requesting they stop their fight and be good friends. But Tamara refused, saying she would rather be a friend to a lizard than be his friend. Fay laughed, and Tamara told him that she would no longer bring his food to his room again, as he would be the one to carry his food by himself, else he would die of hunger. Tamara left. Fay carried the food and was surprised that the food was much for the first time. He took 1 spoon of the food, coughed, and spat out the food, screaming Tamara's name as he went outside. That night, Lady Flora was on the phone with her friend as she approached the living room, sitting on the couch. She confessed to her over the phone how lonely she feels without a man, claiming all men are the same as they will keep disappointing. Her friend suggested her chauffeur to her, but Lady Flora immediately rebuked her, telling her not to sow such thoughts in her head. She bid her good night and ended the call, thinking about what she had been told. The following day, Lady Flora was in her car as her chauffeur Fay drove her to work. She began admiring him from the mirror, saying to herself that he is cute and might be good in bed. But she stopped herself from thinking about that, reminding herself that he is just her driver. Fay was standing outside, yawning as Rashid passed. He then stopped Rashid to ask if Tamara had brought his food. Rashid insulted him and said that she brought his food 1 hour ago and that he should just go and beg Tamara as he continued his insult. Fay went to look for Tamara and entered the kitchen filled with smoke. Spotting the pot on the gas, he quickly went to turn off the gas and brought it down. In the process, he started coughing and fell on the floor, gasping for breath and screaming Tamara's name. Tamara, seeing him lying on the ground, quickly ran to his aid. He managed to mention his inhaler, so she quickly ran to his room to look for it. Lady Flora came to the kitchen and saw Fay lying unconscious. She called out to Rashid and Tamara in fear. Rashid quickly came in and carried him on his back to the car as they were all in fear. Lady Flora quickly drove him to the hospital. Tamara was in Ella's room with Ella as she asked her to go read her books or play games, but Ella refused, saying that she wanted to use her phone to call her dad. Tamara then told her that she can use her mom's phone when she returns. Ella pleaded with Tamara, telling her that she wants to go and be with her dad, that her mom doesn't love her anymore. Tamara consoled her and told her that her mummy loves her so much. Lady Flora and Fay arrived as Rashid opened the gate for them. They came down, and Fay appreciated Lady Flora, asking her to deduct the money she spent from his salary. Lady Flora told him she didn't ask for the money. Fay appreciated her again. Lady Flora asked him why he didn't include in his resume that he has asthma. Fay replied that he felt it was not necessary since he is a very careful person. Lady Flora looked at him and asked him to take a week off until he gets better. Fay refused, saying he is okay, but Lady Flora insisted as she walked inside. The following day, Lady Flora was seated in the parlor as Tamara walked to her. She looked at her and asked her if her plan was to burn down her house. Tamara apologized, and Lady Flora asked her what would have happened if Fay had not quickly turned off the gas. Tamara pleaded with Lady Flora to forgive her for her carelessness, and Lady Flora said it had better not happen again as she asked about Ella. Tamara told her she had just put her to bed, and then Tamara mentioned that Ella was crying earlier because she wanted to go be with her father. Lady Flora looked at her in surprise and asked her to pack Ella's bag, saying she would drop her off there tomorrow. Tamara was shocked and left speechless. Fay was in his room when Tamara knocked. He asked her to come in. She entered, greeted him, and gave him his food. Tamara then asked Fay how he was doing and apologized for leaving the gas on. Fay thanked her for making an effort to save him, and they both smiled as Tamara returned his inhaler. Fay complimented Tamara's beauty, making her blush as she left. Ella was on her bed when her mother came in. She greeted her, and then her mother asked her what she told Tamara. Her mother made it known to her that her father was poor and would not be able to give her a good life. Then she asked her to choose between her father and her, and Ella, feeling helpless, chose her mother as she left. On another day, Ella was seated in the parlor struggling with her assignments as she pleaded with Tamara to assist her with it. Tamara looked at her for a moment and told her that she would try. Fay came in at her assignments. He noticed Tamara was struggling with it and decided to help. As he sat down to help, Lady Flora came in and he quickly stood up. Lady Flora asked what Tamara was doing sitting beside Ella. Tamara explained that she was assisting Ella with her assignments, but Lady Flora laughed and told her to stand up and not let Ella fail her assignment, as her brain is dull. Ella explained to her mother that Tamara had been the one helping her with her assignment, but Lady Flora insisted she should do it by herself. Tamara quickly stood up, feeling embarrassed, as she left. Fay was lying on his bed when he heard a knock and asked to come in. Seeing that it was Lady Flora, he quickly stood up from bed and greeted her. Lady Flora then asked Tamara to bring the gift she bought for him. Lady Flora handed the gift to Fay and appreciated him for his hard work. Fay, grateful, expressed his gratitude to her. Tamara was washing her clothes outside when Fay came to meet her, telling her not to worry about what Lady Flora said to her, that she is smart and intelligent. Tamara smiled, and Fay asked if they could take a walk later in the evening. Tamara agreed, and Fay left with a big smile on his face. Fay was outside when Rashid approached him, warning him to stay away from Tamara as he wanted to marry her. Fay laughed, knowing he was just bluffing, and told him how he had seen him with a house girl in the next compound. Rashid felt guilty as Fay left laughing. The next day, Fay and Tamara both stood in the parlor waiting for Lady Flora's arrival. Shortly, she came and gave Tamara a list of the things she would buy in the market, instructing Fay to drive her there. They both went happily as Lady Flora looked at them in surprise. They entered the car holding hands as Fay asked Rashid to open the gate for them. Rashid, acting jealous, pretended he didn't hear them. Fay called his name several times before he stood up to open the gate, cursing them in his dialect as they drove off. On their way, Fay and Tamara chatted and began playing music, dancing to it. They were both happy as they took pictures together, and their bond became stronger. Rashid was engrossed in the call he was on and forgot to close the gate. Ella then came out, saw the gate wide open, went inside, grabbed her bag, and ran out through the gate without Rashid's knowledge. Lady Flora was inside her house searching for Ella, but could not find her. She quickly rushed out, calling Rashid. Rashid, still on call, heard Lady Flora calling his name. He quickly ended the call and rushed to answer Lady Flora. She asked him where Ella was, and Rashid replied he hadn't seen Ella, claiming he had looked everywhere, so she might probably be inside. Surprisingly, Rashid faced his direction to the gate and saw that he hadn't locked the gate, looking shocked and confused. Immediately, Lady Flora shouted in fear and quickly called someone, stating that Ella, her daughter, was missing. Ella was walking on the road when a car drove close to her. Then she heard her name and was shocked to see Tamara. Seeing that it was Tamara, she quickly tried to escape, but Tamara caught her and asked where she was going. Ella explained that she wanted to go see her father, stating her mom doesn't love her, pleading with Tamara to leave her alone. Tamara pleaded with her, saying her mom loved her so much and she should please follow her home. Ella refused, but Tamara still pleaded and took her home. Tamara and Fay arrived home, and Lady Flora was shocked to see Ella with them. She angrily asked if they took her along with them, but they explained that they found her on the street. Lady Flora was in shock as she scolded Ella, but Ella told her to leave her alone, saying she does not love her. Ella ran inside, leaving Lady Flora almost in tears as she went after her. Ella and her mum were inside her room. Lady Flora, realizing she had been doing her best to express her love for her daughter, confessed that she loved her. Henceforth, she promised to make her hair for her, play games with her, and always call her dad whenever she wants to, if only she would not run away again. Ella promised, and they both hugged each other. Rashid, Fay, and Tamara stood in the parlor as Lady Flora came in, and they all knelt down to beg her not to fire Rashid for his careless behavior. Rashid and Tamara begged her, but she refused, insisting he gets fired. Fay pleaded with her to forgive him, and she listened, forgiving Rashid and restoring him back to his duty post. Later, she instructed Fay to sit down while Tamara and Rashid excused themselves. Fay sat as Lady Flora requested he bring his CV so she could give it to her friend, who she was certain would need his service more than she did. Fay, surprised and excited, expressed his gratitude as they continued conversing. Tamara sat outside looking worried as Rashid approached her and asked her what the problem was. Tamara replied that she thinks Lady Flora has eyes for Fay. Rashid agreed with what Tamara said, but assured her that Fay wouldn't leave her and that he is a good person. Rashid praised him, saying if not for Fay, Madame Flora would have sacked her. Rashid told Tamara not to worry, that Fay would always choose her, and so he cheered her up before she left. Fay was seated on his bed when Tamara came in with his food. She was about to leave when Fay pulled her closer, confessing he liked her bond with Ella and that she would make a good mother someday. Tamara smiled and said thank you. Overwhelmed, Fay held her face and pulled her closer when Lady Flora came inside. In shock, they put themselves in order, avoiding each other. Lady Flora, surprised, asked Tamara what she was doing inside his room, and she replied she brought his food. Lady Flora, not convinced, looked at her suspiciously as she walked out of Fay's room. Fay asked what she wanted, and Lady Flora told him to get ready as he would be driving her out. She explained to him that she did not usually go out this late, but she was very tired and frustrated, which is why she was going out, and Lady Flora left. The following day, Lady Flora was sitting on her bed as Tamara came in with her coffee and dropped it on the table. Lady Flora then picked up her phone, calling Fay to come to her room immediately, asking Tamara to leave. Tamara was angry and wondered why she called Fay. Lady Flora saw her still standing and shouted at her to go out. Just then, on her way out, Fay entered as Lady Flora requested he come give her a massage. Tamara, walking out slowly, overheard what she said, and she became sad, sitting on the staircase in disappointment. Later that day, Tamara was cleaning the compound when Fay walked up to her. Immediately, she asked Fay to leave her alone as he got close to her, questioning why she asked him to leave. But Tamara still shouted at him to leave her alone. Lady Flora came out, seeing them close, and told Fay that the mechanic was waiting for her, so Fay left. Lady Flora then asked Tamara what was going on between them. Tamara answered, "Nothing," and Lady Flora said it had better be nothing as she left. Lady Flora was seated in the parlor along with Tamara cleaning when Fay walked in and told her he had gotten the fuel. Lady Flora appreciated him and asked him to follow her to her room as she wanted to show him something. Inside her room, Lady Flora tried to make advances towards him, begging him to satisfy her, and she would pay him handsomely. Fay refused, saying he loved someone else too much and couldn't do it. Lady Flora then asked him to get out, but Fay refused, saying he couldn't leave her like that, as she was not in her right frame of mind. Lady Flora got angrier and told him to go out, but Fay still refused and asked her to share her problem with him. There was silence for a while. Then Lady Flora sat down and explained how she divorced her husband, calling him a cheat, and so she restricted every access to him. Fay pleaded with her to forgive her husband since she was still in love with him. He also pleaded with her to unblock her husband on social media. Later that day, Lady Flora was in her room on a call with Ella's father as she asked him to come around during the weekend. Tamara came out with Fay's food and went to Rashid's apartment, pleading with him to help her give Fay his food, but Rashid refused and asked her to take it to Fay by herself. Tamara then went to Fay's door and knocked. Fay asked her to come in, but Tamara insisted he should come and carry his food outside. Fay refused to come out, and Tamara barged in, dropping his food on the table, and headed to the door. Fay stopped her from going out, asking her what the problem was. Tamara told him he couldn't be with her since he had been sleeping with Lady Flora. Fay laughed and told her he had nothing to do with Lady Flora. He was in love with her, not Lady Flora, making her blush, and they hugged each other. Suddenly, he received a message on his phone, seeing that it was one of the jobs he had applied for, and he had gotten the job. He was so happy, and Tamara celebrated with him. One beautiful day, Ella's dad came in as Tamara greeted him with a smile on her face. Ella saw her dad and ran to hug him. Her dad received her warmly, telling her he misses her. Lady Flora approached them as Tamara quickly called Ella. Seeing her mother, Ella withdrew back and went to meet Tamara. Lady Flora's husband, named Kenneth, began apologizing to her, confessing he regrets everything and he's sorry. Lady Flora, overwhelmed, immediately accepted his apology, and they both went upstairs together. Tamara was inside Fay's room as she helped him pack his bag with a sad face. Fay then held her as he promised he will come back for her as soon as possible, and they both hugged each other. Lady Flora was seated in her parlor as Fay came out with his luggage all set to go. Lady Flora sent him his salary. Fay was surprised when he saw the alert as the money was more than his salary. Overjoyed, he expressed his gratitude. Immediately, Lady Flora called out to Tamara to come escort her boyfriend. Tamara was shocked, and Lady Flora told them she knew they were dating, causing Tamara to smile profusely. They held hands walking outside together. Fay and Tamara were outside as she called out to Rashid. Rashid quickly came out and saw that Fay was already leaving. He then shook hands with him and gave him a hug. Fay asked Rashid to look after Tamara for him, not to let any man come close to her. Rashid smiled, giving him his word that he will not allow anyone to come close to her. And they all laughed as Rashid opened the gate for them, and Tamara escorted Fay with a happy face. Thank you for joining us in this cinematic adventure, titled House 45 by Uchenna Bunabo. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Creathority, for more